I can't hear anything. I'm trying to see if I did something wrong. Okay. I can't hear a thing. Oh.
I think this time I'm giving up. It seems my stars start.
I can hear the music now.
Sometimes I wonder if these cuts are deep enough to bleed my sins away. I had no money when everybody had a price to pay. I reached for the house in the sky, but there was no one home. Just keep looking up to the sky. Someone will be there to kick you down. I'm tired to kick you. Everyone's telling me that life gets easier. Just keep holding on. I'm tired of waiting for the storm clouds to pass me. Just keep holding on. You're the sanctuary, it's in my peace. I thought I found a way to leave. Sanctuary, I knew my wrongs. Angel on my shoulder, please get along. Thought you were right, then you were gone. Seeing my reflection in this song. Words that I said, poems along. My hand and yours didn't belong. Is it a God? Is he a tale? If I fall down, will I fail? Can you see me in my world? I've forgotten how to feel. Wanna touch you, but I'm fading. Now my call to rearrange it. Just keep looking up to the sky. Someone will be there to kick you down.
All the times that you say that you wanna hurt back, she don't let her ass go, you want none of that. All the things that you need, there was all in one place. You don't understand how love works one day. All the times that you said that you wanna hurt back, she don't let her ass go, you want none of that. All the things that you need, there was all in one place. Yeah. Said I feel safe when I'm with you. You done gave your whole heart, still I feel foolish, cause I can't change some shit I do. Wouldn't know how to go about it if I lost you. Been let myself get in my way, cause if it was my heart, I make that change. Came into my own, there's no more games. Know you would rather go than stay the same. Yeah. What you want? We ain't talking about that tonight. Yeah. Hand them off, make love till you satisfied. Yeah. Dreams of war, tell me which please your appetite. Yeah. We connect through the skies like the satellites. Yeah. I don't wanna be the reason why you sad at night. We can stop right now, I know you're scared of heights. Yeah. Everything that you want, always in our sight. We ain't gotta slow down, we just living life. Said I feel safe when I'm with you. You done gave your whole heart, still I feel foolish, cause I can't change some shit I do. Wouldn't know how to go about it if I lost you. Been let myself get in my way, cause if it was my heart, I make that change. Came into my own, there's no more games. Know you would rather go than stay the same.
90.7 WTCC FM. This is D.Moss, another version of Monday Night Live.
Know you would rather go.
After our sounds of the Mac Way.
Been let myself get up in my way. Get up in my way. Said I feel safe, and I'm with you. You done gave your whole heart. Still I feel foolish, cause I can't change some shit I do. Wouldn't know how to go about it if I lost you. Feel let myself get in my way. Cause if it was my heart, I make that change. Came into my own. There's no more games. No, you would rather go. Don't stay the same. Yeah, yeah.
All right, y'all. This is 90.7 WTCC FM. My name is D.Moss. That is like one of my favoriteest performers on the whole planet. That is my man Mac Way. And if you don't have his music, I'll tell you right now, you're losing out. But you know, this is that 9 o'clock hour. I'm running a little late. I feel like my man from the 5 Heartbeats. I'm telling you, I come in running late every time. I don't know what it is. Oh, well, they even brought the radio station to me this time, and I still couldn't do it. But this is 90.7, and that's unacceptable, so I'm going to consequence myself later. That means no eggnog for me. But we're going to get to some conversation. I got my sister on the line. What's up, little sis? Miss Tiffany Allecia, soon to be Dr. Tiffany Allecia.
Oh, listen, in due time, we're going to get there. I'm on the ground right now.
Then it's going to be Professor. And they're going to be like, dang, what in the world did we just create here?
That's what's up.
So my partner, Rob Jones, is in the studio with me. And for the last couple of weeks, he's been talking about, we need to talk about these numbers and discuss this budget and all the dollars that are coming into the city of Springfield. Last week, we talked a little bit about the Shannon Funds and the Safe and Successful Youth Initiative dollars, a combined $2.5 million. And as we talk about gang activity in the city of Springfield, only to discover that less than 200,000 is coming on the Hill. And every time they talk about gang violence, Commissioner Clapperud, we're referring to the Hill, but none of the dollars are coming on the Hill. They're going everywhere but. Roca gets close to $500,000. We know the North End is getting, a couple of 100,000. No complaints. They need it. But the Hill just always seems to be left out. And when they say, who am I referring to when I say the Hill? I'm specifically talking about the Black community. So there's another pot of funds that has entered the city.
Yes.
And we brought on future Dr. Tiffany Allecia to join us to talk about that today. So Tiff, you know what? I'm gonna be quiet. I'm gonna flip you up on the big screen. Since you got most of the information, we're just gonna ask you questions, and we're gonna let you just like do what you do. Just be like pop, 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 pop.
Okay, I got it. Brrrah, I'm here.
I said grab the rifles. They didn't know I was talking about them intellectual bullets. So let's get it.
Yes, I'm here for it.
So tell us what's going on with those funds. Tell
Okay.
us what pot of funds it is, what's happening. Give us the whole shebang.
All right. And you guys can hear me clearly. Everything's all set.
Perfectly.
Yeah.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
Over there. Go ahead, girl.
Listen, I went to a wedding in Atlanta this weekend. It was a Howard wedding, so my voice is a little off, but I'm here. I'm on point. That being said, okay, so let's get into it. ARPA.
Yep.
ARPA is the funding source that we're going to be talking about tonight. And so ARPA stands for the American Rescue Plan Act. And this is a federal law that was created to help communities across the countries that are full of individuals that did not get COVID relief. So last year, if you can remember, there was a bunch of different COVID impact relief style grants and loans that came out, from the PPP loan to the CARES Act to the Springfield did one specific as well. But the problem was majority of the opportunities had a lot of restrictions on the people who could receive that funding. So it was very limited on who can access the money. So many people in Springfield and places like Springfield still needed help. That being said, the federal grant was created to do just that, rescue individual Americans and the smaller businesses who could not access the bigger funds like the PPP loans who already came out. That being said, it was dispersed in two ways. So the states, every single state in the Massachusetts and some territories got in the United States and some territories got funding from ARPA. However, in places with high concentration of minority populations and low income populations, they got additional funding just for them. So in terms of Springfield, Governor Baker has a portion of funding that he's going to be allocating over the next couple of weeks. But Springfield, as an individual jurisdiction, was eligible because we're 65.6% Black, Hispanic, and Latino, as well as we have a low income population. That being said, we filled off a couple demographic boxes, and we were eligible for $127 million. Now, we received that $127 million back in May. Since then, there's been a couple of things that's been happening. The ARPA funding was immediately spent on a purchase of 3 commercial properties by Mayor Sarno and the Chief Development Officer of Springfield. Now, the way the bill is written, the funding can be used on so many different things. So it being used on all of those things includes, oh, did I lose them? I might have lost them. I don't know if people can still hear me, but I'm gonna keep talking just in case. So when we use the funding, they have to use it. Oh, we're back on. Okay. So I was going to keep talking. You know me. I'm an ad-lib. We're going to act like it's okay.
Can you go back and just talk about the eligible? We lost you at eligible.
Okay. So the eligibility of Springfield. And this is very important, especially when we begin talking about what they did with the funding and how they've impeded our access to it. So Springfield's eligibility to get funding directly to our city was because of the way the U.S. Department of Treasury defined it. So the law passed through Congress, but the U.S. Department of Treasury the Treasury Department is responsible for allocating it across the country, maintaining the porting, all that good stuff. So they decided to use something that we continuously use, which is a community block grant formula. And so the community block grant is this grant that helps communities across the country from a federal level rebuild certain aspects of it that are impacted, especially for minority communities and low income communities. So it's a certain formula that they do that basically they add up the different percentages of the disparities and the minority populations and all those kind of things, and they come up with the sum of money that your community will need to survive. Community block grants have been around for a while. So the Department of Treasury used that formula to see which individual cities were eligible for money. Based off of that formula that they used and calculated Springfield's demographics, minority status, low income, blah, 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 we were eligible for $127 million. Now, we received that money in May, and the money was actually meant for 4 objectives, and I think it's important that we know that, because what they've now turned around to use the money for and how they now have limited access to that money might pose a legal question. It might not actually be illegal what the city of Springfield is doing right now. So the funding objectives straight from the U.S. Department of Treasury are 4 simple things. Number 1, support urgent COVID-19 response efforts to continue decrease spread of the virus and bring the pandemic under control. Number 2, replace lost revenue for eligible state, local, territorial and tribal governments to strengthen support for vital public services and help retain jobs. Number 3, support immediate economic stabilization for households and businesses. And number 4, address systemic public health and economic challenges that have contributed to the unequal impact of the pandemic. So those are the 4 objectives dictated by the U.S. Department of Treasury. And right now, as it stands, Springfield is not meeting those objectives with the ARPA funding. What has been spent so far has only been on 3 commercial properties downtown that doesn't necessarily have a plan that was shared with our community. I think they spent close to, was it $4 million or $5 million on them, acquiring those properties. And that's not immediate economic stabilization for households and businesses, and that's not helping the systemic public health, economic challenges and things of that nature. So if we're not careful, unfortunately, and I didn't want to get too deep too fast, but this money can easily disappear into a lot of pots that it wasn't supposed to be in, because our community as a whole just doesn't know. And
Tiffany,
go ahead.
what can we do? I mean, as soon as you said this money can disappear, what can we do to keep it from A, disappearing, and B, making sure it gets funneled into the areas, into the communities that it's supposed to be getting funneled into? Like, what kind of accountability metrics are in place here, or do we need to create them, and how do we go about doing that?
So it's essentially we need to create them, right? So one of the first things is holding them accountable for what they said they were going to do and then what they're currently not doing. Usually what happens is when there's an issue or an evidence of discrimination, our community kind of like goes like, "Yep, we knew that was going to happen," and we kind of go harder and try to navigate this discriminatory practice. With everything that happened with Black Lives Matter, with literally the yellow paint that's in front of City Hall right now and the paint they try to wash off of Court Square, like there's no way we can allow them to do the same things that they've always done. Like this money is only here because of the Black and brown people in the low income community that we're here. So the first things first is really acknowledging like where we stand, right? We have to decide that we're going to be advocates for ourselves and we're going to be engaged in this type of work, right? Because it takes a lot. It takes a lot to pay attention to all the things that's happening and all the different moves that's being made and to interpret them for what they are. And then to stand on these very big words, these very loaded words of discrimination and racism and oppression. And it does affect a lot of different aspects of your life when you're in the city. So first things first is to do that, acknowledge that this is occurring, have the research to back it up, and actually identify the systems that we can hold them accountable through. Once we do that, the path becomes a lot clearer. So one of the reasons why I've been so on point in terms of doing all these community workshops is because I knew it was just too shiny, bright. It was just too like good, not good to be true, but I knew it wasn't going to be easy. So we got a lot of things on record, a lot of things on video. I had Attorney Moore discussing all these things that he said it was going to be in this ARPA funding. So like it was supposed to be one page. It was supposed to be easily accessible. You were supposed to be able to access it without a business entity. Like all these different things they said were going to happen. It's on video. It's recorded. And then similarly, City Councilman Whitfield, City Councilwoman Whitfield, and City Councilman Hurst did their own info session where they also have this all on record of the things that they promised us. So it's not like we have to make it up. We can literally just replay it for them. So compiling that information on what was supposed to exist is important. And that's something that I'm currently doing. So in a way that I'm going to be able to communicate it to the government structures, but also the community on a larger scale, so they know like the shift that's occurred. And lastly, it's the ask, basically. What are they asking? What should we ask them to do instead? And I think it's an easy answer for this case because we have the example of what they had to do to give the money, to get the money. So in this scenario, what I haven't exactly described clearly, and I'm sorry about that, is the actual ARPA application that has come out. So today's November 1st. Shout out to you guys to be on point with the breaking news and things of that nature, because this is the first day you can actually submit an ARPA application. So we have a new department. It's the Department of Recovery and Business Continuity, and that's led by Attorney Tom Moore. He was the appointed director. And that department is the one that has developed the grant applications and developed the process and the evaluation process. Before this all came out a couple months ago, I was in meetings with Attorney Tom Moore, Director Tom Moore, and Berkshire Bank to kind of advocate for our community through the lens of Black and Brown Wall Street, to advocate to make sure that like we're recognizing that everyone on every aspect of the educational spectrum can access this. Everyone with a variety of incomes, with a variety of legal identities, all these different things. We were having lengthy discussions on how to make sure they weren't left out. Unfortunately, fast forward to October 15th, which was 2 weeks ago, when the applications come out, and it just seemed like majority of everything got thrown out the window. So all these protections we were trying to put in there, all these preventative measures we were trying to put in there, it just didn't make it into the application. And actually, and completely different product came out of it. So instead of that one pager, it turned into 6 pages. The cover page is 6 pages, which is the actual application you have to turn in. And then the guidelines is 6 pages as well. Instead of it being jargon, conversational or communicative language, it's a lot of legal terminology, intimidating terminology. They also ask a lot of questions in there that has nothing to do with the actual funding source. So understanding that, the next thing to do is to ask that be changed, because this money, again, like I told you guys straight from the department's website, this is for immediate relief. This is for immediate use. This was supposed to be able to help our communities rapidly across the country, but so far it's only bought the city more empty buildings that they don't know what to do with. And
Hey, Tiffany, can I ask you a question?
yeah.
So based on what you were saying, is it up to the community, the business communities, the businesses, and the organizations to apply for this opera money?
Yes.
So people that are listening, where do they need to go to apply for this money?
Yes. And I believe Daryl was just having it on the screen. Yeah, it's on the bottom of the screen, but it's the city's website. So if you're using Google, it's the Department of Recovery and Business Continuity for Springfield, Massachusetts. There's a lot of them popping up right now, so you have to make sure it's for Springfield, Massachusetts. And the actual website is www.springfield-ma.gov /finance/ARPA. And so when you get to that page, it's going to show a little blurb about where the funding came from, talking about President Joe Biden and the federal level. And then it talks about the request for proposal. So that request for proposal term is what they're referring to as the grant application, where you're going to be able to apply to get money for a variety of different projects. So in this case, right now, the applications that are available are in new business, small business, and nonprofits. Those are the first 3 categories. There's about 7 of them that include things like housing and economic development, tourism, culture, capital projects. So there's a lot of different categories, and seniors have a whole pot to themselves. And so as those categories coming out, in addition to the 3 that are available now, you're going to pull the guidelines from that page, download it, and you're going to pull the cover sheet from that page. The guidelines describe the different where the funding source come from and where the different things that are required in your application. And then the cover sheet is the actual application that you have to fill out and turn in with any additional documentation you decide to put in.
Okay. Do you have any idea, once all that criteria is met, how long does it take to get approved? And then how long does it take typically for funds to be dispersed?
So this is going to be a 5 to 7 week process. So depending on the capacity of the evaluation teams, it's going to take longer or shorter. But basically, this is how it works. So it's a few steps. So from the moment that you take your application and you submit it to the Department of Recovery and Business Continuity, this is what happens. It first goes to an evaluation team. So the evaluation team is going to be a team of 3 people. It's going to be someone from the Department of Recovery and Business Continuity, someone from the Department of Finance, and potentially a city councilman or someone from the city. And so they are going to be reviewing your application for its, and this is all I just have to put the caveat in there that I'm describing exactly what you have to do. I am not agreeing with this process, and I don't think it's correct, and I'm actively trying to change it, but this is where it stands right now. So with the evaluation team, they are scoring the benefit to the Springfield community. So the business fund idea, the proposal idea, how does it fit into the city of Springfield's growth and things of that matter, and just the quality of it, of the proposal. Once and I can even tell you the evaluation process. So there is 3 categories. It's HAA and NA. So that's highly advantageous, and not advantageous. And so there's 4 categories that they're going to be judging each proposal on. The first, and I'm going to actually pull up this information because I want to get it right, but the first is the COVID impact, and that's important. In order to be eligible for this funding, you have to showcase that you are affected by COVID-19. And that could be as simple as I couldn't start my business because I had to handle with the responsibilities of remote learning with my children, or I couldn't buy the extra piece of equipment that I wanted for my business because the economy was too insecure and I had to have some savings. Whatever it is, you have to provide a COVID connection because that's what the funding is for. Then they're also going to evaluate you on the business plan. So the strength of the plan within itself. Is it, do you have enough information on or experience within whatever business you're trying to start or whatever nonprofit you're trying to maintain to get more access to funding? The next one is experience. So the experience portion is about whether or not you again have evidence, but not just in the business but in the managerial world. So not just in the profit sides of it, but managing a business, reporting, all that good stuff. And then they're also going to be looking at your there was one more category, community benefits, which we'll get there, but how it benefits the greater community of Springfield specifically. I don't know how we managed to be responsible for our own healing from discrimination and oppression in a pandemic, but that's what they put in there. So that's the first step, the evaluation team. Now, if you make it through there, you're going to get to the, I think they call it the ARPA Advisory Council or something like that. And I'm going to pull that one up because it gets serious really quickly. So originally the evaluation team was supposed to be the only evaluators, but once the RFP came out, we found out that they added additional group of people, and so that's called the RFP, the Request for Proposal Advisory Committee, and they consist of a representative from the Springfield
City Council.
Yep, Springfield City Council, a representative, the chief, not a representative, but the actual chief development officer, the chief administrative and financial officer, the director of technical assistance and compliance, and the city clerk.
Yep.
And so that came out of nowhere. We found out about that when we got the application. At first, it was just supposed to be a step. Oh, and on the evaluation team, there's the someone from the Office of Planning and Economic Development. And so after you go through those 2 evaluation teams, then they give a recommendation to Mayor Sarno for you to be able to, for him to sign off on your proposal. Now, technically, Mayor Sarno has every right to not sign it, even if it's recommended. That's within his power. So that's the system that they created. And so that's supposed to be taking, so the evaluation teams meet on a weekly basis and it's rolling, and they're going to be meeting every single week. And so the evaluation process itself is supposed to take around 2 to 3 weeks. And then if you get approved, there's 3 ways that you can get a response. You can get approved completely, which is they like your budget, they like the amount you asked for, they give both to you. And if that happens, then you're going to get a grant contract. And that grant contract is going to say you receive this amount of money from these funds. Do you accept? And basically you're accepting that you're going to report and do all those kind of things. And you sign it. and then it depends on the cycle of the pay period we're on. So if we're on a payroll week in the city, then you'll get that check quickly. But if it's like on the opposing week, there's like an additional week. You know what I'm trying to say? Like the 2-week time period with the city checks. And so
the good thing with the city is they get paid weekly.
Oh, okay. That's dope. And so with that being said, if you are turning in ARPA applications this week, potentially you can have the grant money before Thanksgiving. Right. So it could be as short as 3 weeks. It's supposed to be no longer than five weeks.
Based on the conversations you have with Attorney Moore, and for the record, I think Tom is a cool dude.
Yes, he is. He really is. I enjoyed it. Yeah, I enjoyed it.
But the process is still a process. The work that you and others are doing is necessary work, personality, with withstanding. So I appreciate what you're doing. I love all the information. I love the accountability mechanism, making sure the process is transparent. We had Justin Hurst and Tracy Whitfield on, what was it, yesterday?
Yeah. Yes,
and we talked about accountability and transparency. And then I know my boy Hanif Nelson talked about, the role that the community itself has to play. It doesn't mean it's a paid position. It means that somebody cares enough to get out there, do the research, do the homework, make sure they know, the city, the municipality's language to the best of their ability, and have the capacity to break it down and bring it back to the community, which is what you're doing. I think that's just so dope, Tiffany, on so many levels. But let me ask a question. Like, I look at places like the Hub. I look at Green Spring, what those folks are doing down there on the Haymarket building.
The marketplace.
Yep. And I look at all the Black and brown businesses that are in that building. Now, some of them are micro businesses. The majority of them are micro businesses. So is there room in this process for micro business? Because typically, historically, the city has basically discriminated against micro businesses and small organizations, grassroots organizations, when it comes down to different pots of funding that were specifically created for those target demographics. Is there room for micro businesses? What should they do to prepare themselves as they, if they go online today and they download this application? Let's say I run a newspaper. So mainstream folks may look at it and go, that's Negro-ish. Which is what they do, which is cool. That's what they're expected to do. But how do we reassure people to the point where they go, okay, you know what, I'm gonna go to the city's website, download this application. Who shouldn't even think about applying? Who should think about applying? Tell me where they should start, and how do they convince themselves that this pot of funds is applicable for them?
Right. So the short answer is everyone should be applying. Literally every Springfield resident, specifically Black and brown residents, should be applying. We low-key got almost $1 million per person. There's only 152,000 people in this space, and it's $122 million. So like everyone should be able to access a little piece of something. That being said, I think instead of looking at it through the lens of the discrimination and the oppression that we've always looked at it in the actions of the city and the government and things like that, we should look at it through the policies and the laws and what they actually say, right? Because we're holding them accountable for what they're putting in writing. And so in writing, the law says that this is to support immediate economic stabilization for households and businesses. Everyone in Springfield is within a household. They know the impact that they've had based off of COVID and the pandemic, whether you worked more or worked less, whether your family was stressed mentally, emotionally, people got sick, they died. That impact is there, and you're a Springfield household. If you have a business too, you're doubly eligible, right?
So if we're looking, let me stop you for a second. Yeah. I know you're on a roll, but you just caught me. So I have a household. Mm-hmm. So if you're the head of household, you can go online, download this application, and fill it out. You don't. I just said it earlier, but I'm like, wait a minute.
No, exactly, Daryl. And this is why I was so hot this morning, because this is the issue. There, like I told you, on the website right now, there's new business, there's small business, and there's nonprofit. There's nothing on there that talks about individuals and families at all. Technically, the law allows for an individual like me, single mom of 3, go up there and say, yo, I'm 6 months late on my mortgage. Here's my receipts. Here's my eviction notice, whatever evidence I want to show. I shouldn't even have to show that much, but here is my evidence. I need these bands to pay back my housing. And that money can be spent on that. So the decision for the city to make a grant-like process was a decision. They could have decided everyone in the city gets $1,000. They could have decided that everyone in the city gets $2,000 and then you can apply for 2 RFPs. They could have made whatever mechanism they wanted to access the money, and they decided to do it the route in a grant. The grant was supposed to be super simple to access, but they made this competitive style 6-page grant, which is a problem. But yes, to answer your question, this money, you don't have to be a business owner. You don't have to be a community organizer. The money is for both individuals, households, and businesses.
Wow.
And they're not talking about that. You can't find that information anywhere on the website either. That was from me reading the ARPA bill and the U.S. Department of Treasury. And that's a 243-page document. And I had to, because there was no way I was going to trust the lens of the same administrators over one of the most corrupt police departments in the country. You're going to tell me what this money is supposed to be for. I don't believe that. There's no way. So we had to get through that bill. And it's an amazingly vague written bill because the needs across the country are so different. So whereas where we might need food and education stability and business support, another rural town might need bandwidth and clean water. So the bill is written in such a way that you can do a lot of different things with it. One of the biggest things that we have to stand on is the difference between what they're making us do for this money and what they had to do for this money. And that's something that I believe that we can use towards our advantage to try to get these applications changed. If I could take a second really quick to kind of discuss the submission requirements, I think that'll be something that people can see like clearly the difference between, oh, it's discrimination, and no, this is really discrimination. Like, this isn't just a buzzword. So basically, like I said, through the community block formula, Springfield was eligible for $127 million, just like that. The ARPA bill similarly is written based off of eligibility. You have to be a resident of whatever jurisdiction that the funding is giving towards, and you have to be impacted by COVID-19. Technically, if you check those 2 things off, you are eligible for the money. Just like because we checked off the black box, the brown box, and the low income box, we were eligible for that money. So that being said, the federal government, the U.S. Department of Treasury, this is what they decided was relevant information for us to get that money. Keep in mind that this is for the immediate relief, the immediate benefit of our communities. So this is the submission requirements that the city of Springfield had to do to the federal government, the U.S. Department of Treasury, to get that $127 million. So this is what it says. To complete a submission on behalf of your jurisdiction, you will be asked to provide the following information. So essentially, this is their request for proposal. 1, jurisdiction name, taxpayer ID number, DUNS number, and address. That will be the city of Springfield, whatever our tax ID number and DUNS number is, 36 Court Street. Number 2, authorized representative name, title, and email. Mayor Dominic Sarno, he's the mayor. The phone number, his email. Number 3, contact person name, title, phone, and recovery email. Now, the contact person would be, in our case, our director, the Department of Business and Recovery, Tom Moore. So it would be Tom Moore. He's the director of recovery and business and continuity, his phone and his email. Number 4, funds transfer information, including recipient's financial institution, address, phone, and routing number, and account number. So I think we use People's United Bank or something like that. Whatever the city's institution is, your routing number, your account number. And then number 5, completed award terms and conditions to be signed by the authorized representative. So that grant contract I was talking about, that signature, that's what they're requiring. And that's it. Wow. 3 names, 3 phone numbers, 3 emails, an account number, and a signature. And that's how $127 million got into the city, just for them to turn around and make a 6-page application for individual community members who aren't grant writers, who aren't in this type of world, to be able to access a portion of that money.
So the city's basically requiring 10 times the information that they needed. But based on that, what's the room for, falsifying, misleading information? I'm a business owner out of Ludlow along Meadow, and then I get a PO box in Springfield, and then I just fill out the requirements, and it goes through the good old boys network, and then I get the stamp of approval, and I get 275,000, 300,000, $500,000. Meanwhile, Tiffany and Allecia, you get here's 1,000.
Right. And to answer your question, there's so they can honestly do anything. And the reason why, and I can tell you, right, I can actually give you the exact sentence where it kind of shook me, because I realized that, like, even though they did this 6-page RFP, it literally doesn't matter. So there's a sentence in all of the RFPs, and it's in the, let's see, it's in the section where they talk about evaluation. Give me just 60 seconds, because this would answer your questions directly. It talks about what they reserve the right to do and not do.
Oh, what's that? Page 3.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay,
blah, blah, blah. Evaluation criteria. Hold on, give me a second. Because it's just so relevant for us to be able to read and understand what they're actually doing and how they're limiting it. Oh, it's actually on the first page, I think. Man, I'm so frustrated. But essentially, there's a sentence in there that says the committees, the evaluation teams, reserves the right to forego any nonconformities or forego any they use a specific term. So basically, any rule, any question, any requirement in here, they reserve the right to be able to waive it in any application that they want. So what that means is this: if it was used in the best way possible, if they got an application that didn't meet all the requirements, but it was a really good application, a really good idea, they would give the funding anyway. They reserve the right to waive any indiscrepancy that doesn't go along with the application, and they can still fund you. But most likely what this loophole will be used for is exactly what you described. They can reserve the right to waive that Springfield requirement. They can reserve the right to waive them having to turn in documentation that this person had to. You know what I mean? They can literally say that, okay, all you need to do is turn in a little email, and all you have to give me the 6 documents that we requested. Like, they reserve that right, which is insane to think about.
The RFP advisory committee may, in its sole and absolute discretion,
yes,
any and all parts of any and all proposals.
Yes.
Repeat, the RFP advisory committee may, in its sole and absolute discretion, reject any and all or parts of any and all proposals. Further, the RFP advisory committee shall have the right to postpone, suspend, or cancel this RFP process at any time, to change, adjust, or modify the anticipated schedule of events, to waive any minor informalities pertaining to any proposals received, and or to recommend an award amount less than the requested amount.
So that waive any minor informalities is a free-for-all now. Anybody can get it because they have that sole discretion, which is dangerous. Because now it's not just that small evaluation team, right? Now they have whole departments who have histories of systemically oppressing various neighborhoods, uplifting others, and they have the final say. We should be very worried right now. And the same way I was in rooms with these people, we don't know how many other people were in rooms with them prior to this funding even coming out and what promises were made. So yeah, that's where we're at with that.
Mona Jordan Reed asked, hey Mona, Are they also able to deny an applicant for reasons not explained in writing as well? I think they just said that.
Yeah, they just said
They
that.
just said that.
So they reserve that right. Technically, here's how the process goes, though. So
Yep.
remember when I said that there was 3 things? So
Yep.
going back to that really quickly, great question. One way is for them to accept your proposal and the amount that you propose, and you get that full funding, you get the grant application, you get the money in a couple of weeks. The next one option is that they accept your proposal, but they say, that's too much money. We're not giving you all that. So they will accept your proposal, but they offer you a lower grant award than you've asked for. And the third one is called a redirection. Technically, based off of the federal law, it's an eligibility system. So if you're affected by COVID-19 and you are a Springfield resident, there's no reason why you shouldn't get this money. So technically, there's no denials. So in this process, it's going to be a redirection. And so they have to give you reasons why you did not get access to this money. And it's going to be the responsibility, I believe, Director Swan at the Technical Assistance Department. Yeah, and Director Attorney Moore at the Department of Recovery. And they're supposed to give you further information on how you can get funding for your proposal. But again, this is problematic because this is for immediate relief. And one thing that I have to say is that the idea that the evaluation teams that they've created is going to have the understanding or comprehension of the needs of the greater community, especially for Black and Brown people. And they're the end all be all of where our community is going based off of their ideas. We're already 1,000 steps behind, because if their ideas were the ones that were going to save this community, we would have done so 10 years
would
ago.
have been saved. I mean, you talk about the 65% of the composition of the demographic of Springfield, but then you walk in City Hall or you walk in any major city department, and that 65% does not reflect at all the demographic of the city.
It's true. It's true. And so we already know if they're not forced to do it, it's not going to be something they just volunteer to do. Right. And so in this process, we have to use what we can and what we know about the law to try to advocate for ourselves. So now that they have this RFP out, we need to apply. People should be applying, but we can't just let them have this done, because again, like I said, the next population that's supposed to be getting it is housing and seniors, and this can be a phenomenal turnaround in our community's history in terms of access to property ownership, access to high quality rental properties, whatever you want, through this funding. But if you can't fill out the application, we can't get it. And the same thing for seniors. Like, how is a senior going to get through the 6-page application and get all these documentations that they're requiring? The other thing about it is the actual applications just don't make sense. So the new business application, for example, in the introduction to it, they define a new business as a business that has not existed yet, so it's just a thought in your head, or a business that's been in existence for less than a year. But then when you get to the application portion of it, they ask for 2 years of tax returns, they ask for profit and loss statements, they ask for I think the city form to verify your tax ID number and things of that nature. Your tax affidavit. Yeah. But literally, you cannot have any of these things based off of the definition of being a new business. If you're in business less than a year, you haven't filed tax.
You don't have that.
You don't have that. And then how do you define your profit and loss when you're funding it from your own money? You know what I mean? And that's not an accurate profit and loss statement, because I'm taking the money that should have been used to get me my steak, and I'm making tuna to make this business happen. You know what I mean? But that's not, I can't gauge that as profit or loss. So what is that information doing? And then they actually they just leaved it on the documentation, and then they put this little blurb on the site that says, and for the new business category, you may not have everything, but just submit what you do have. That's completely unnecessary. Just take the whole section out. You know what I mean? The application would be half a page shorter, and it's the length of it is an intimidation factor. The different things that they're requiring, the financial documents, and that's the other thing that we need to get into. We within that documentation, they go on about how if you don't report correctly, you will have to pay the money back to the city. Another scare tactic, because it could have been worded in a lot different way. But in that same nature, we have to realize, though, we are turning in information to the government. What I'm scared senseless about is individuals answering the questions differently than what they did on their tax returns, or what they did on their EBT application, or what they did on their Section 8 application, right? Because if there's any discrepancy, even if it's a $10 difference, those are loopholes that can be used to take away your social services or to impede you from getting the ARPA funding in itself and things of that nature. There's no reason for them to be asking for this information, but because they are asking for this information, we have to take a second to think like, okay, what are they going to do with it? Where's it going to go? They're not just collecting this documents for anything. So that's scary, because they also put in questions like, do you owe any, sorry, my phone fell, 1 second. They also put in questions like, do you owe any money to the city of Springfield, which is wild because the Department of Recovery and Business Continuity has nothing to do with debt to the city. They have no jurisdiction over any money that someone owes to the city, and they can't make you pay it. So they're the ones that's collecting the information through the ARPA application. Does this now mean that our ARPA applications aren't confidential and the information we're sharing is going to be shared throughout other departments throughout the city, and now we're going to become targets in other areas? Because
all done by design.
You know what I mean? Why are you asking for this information, my guy? Like, what are you going to do with it?
Right. Yeah, I know typically with
against it.
Procurement, Department of Planning, Economic Development, community development, they do that anyways. So before you can get anything from the city, whether it's a small grant, loan, whatever the case may be, they will, ask, call and they'll check Rob Jones. Does he owe anything, taxes, anything outstanding? And they'll check that themselves.
Nope.
There are people in those. I doubt they'll be sharing it with all the departments. There are people in those departments that have access to the information. They can go around and they can run and see if you run your name, see if you know anything. So that's not the issue. I think the issue, you said it earlier, I think the biggest obstacle is just the language that is used on this document. If you're not accustomed, if you're not used to speaking that particular industry language, I'm reading it now and I'm going, yeah, it's kind of intimidating. And I know what they put in these.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know if I want to bother. So this is where you come in, Tiffany. Just, the mere fact that you broke it down and you're encouraging people, listen, do it anyways. Just get the application, apply for it. I'm just wondering, is there anybody in the community who can, I wonder if we have any nonprofits, partners for community, or anybody that has someone designated to sit with people and help them to complete this ARPA application. Have you heard of anyone? And I know you've been doing your best to help people, get people in debt. On deck, I've been reading your post for a minute, like, yo, ARPA. And I'm thinking I'm on top of ish. And I'm like, ARPA funds, what is that?
Right.
And I didn't really pay attention until I seen you get upset in one post. And I was like, oh, wait a minute. It was like, I think I need to pay attention. So I appreciate you for doing that. Mm-hmm. But back to the question, is there anybody who can assist?
So yes, technically, starting with the city, that's again under Shay Swan's purview. So the Department of, what is his exact department name? It's the Department of Technical Assistance and something else, and business something. He is supposed to be able to help, and they're supposed to be also hiring people within that department and the Department of Recovery and Business Continuity to be able to help specifically on ARPA related proposals. Now, there's organizations like my own, like Black and Brown Wall Street, who, while I can't do individual help right now, I have been doing like community-based writing workshops and informational, larger scale things to get the information out there. I do know there's already mentorship style and business oriented nonprofits around, like Valley Venture Mentors and things of that nature. But in terms of anyone that's like designated, hey, come here for ARPA services, I don't have a person that will be consistent that you can call. There's definitely consultants in the community that's decided to build business plans off of ARPA, but you also have to pay for their services, which is a good service to pay for, but a lot of businesses can't afford that right now. So unfortunately, there isn't any within the community that's like operating from this time to this time every day or something like that. But technically, the city is supposed to be providing that.
All right, and then going back to Chase Wan, Mayor Sarno named Patrice Chase Wan the new Department of Technical Assistance and Compliance Director. The Department of Technical Assistance and Compliance works directly with the Department of Recovery and Business Continuity and is responsible for implementing and ensuring the integrity of diverse and small business programs that promote and grow the certification and participation of minority, women, veteran, LGBTQ-owned businesses and small businesses in the city of Springfield.
Yep.
So, just so folks know. This is good info.
Very good info. And I hope people aren't sleeping on this. Go fill it out. If you've got a friend who's smart and you're stuck, both of you all put your heads together and try to figure this out. If you got a friend who's an attorney, because all this stuff's written in legalese, sit down and fill this stuff out. Let's get this done. I mean, it's all done. This is all done by design.
Yeah.
And this is indicative of how these city government and federal government operate.
And then the more we research and really like go through this with a fine comb and like use it as a mirror onto the city of Springfield, will be, if we have the proper numbers, once we're properly educated, we'll be able to get this done. For example, even with the question about, do you owe any debt to the city? The idea is if you do owe debt, you're not going to be eligible for this funding, right? One, that's nowhere in the federal law, right? At all. Nowhere in the law that it doesn't say you can't owe some money to your city and access it. It's two completely different scenarios. And number two, if we're using this data from Springfield, right now, Springfield is $190.9 million in debt. So to say that our jurisdiction as a whole can have this massive amount of debt and still receive $127 million, but our little 500 we owe to the city or 1,000 we owe to the city is going to inhibit our access. Again, it's completely just opaque. It's just obviously clear that they're creating the system for us to jump through and roll through and get dirty in that they don't have to exist, which is the definition of discrimination, right? They're creating these limitations for one group that another group doesn't have. And in this case, it's doubly bad because the people who were supposed to be getting the money based off of eligibility are the ones that are being boxed out of it.
They have access to these dollars. And they do have access to these dollars. They do have access because the application is out there for everyone.
Yes.
To Tiffany's point, you can't hold a municipality accountable if people aren't going to take the time to fill out the application. Fill it out to the best of your ability. Just fill it out. Whatever you, I don't care what else you do. It's like those PPP loans. Eventually, everybody just started filling them out. You can't challenge the process until you go through the steps of that process. Once you go through, then you leave it up to, community folks like Tiffany, and I'm sure there'll be others who are going to be fighting for you. Like, okay, we had 500 applicants come in, only 3 people from this community. Are you kidding me? You can't challenge the process until people walk through the process. You've got to go through it. Fill out that application, and as I'm talking to the public, I'm talking to myself too. Let's see if Dom denies me across the board. Let him. Let him. I welcome it. I love a challenge. So it's like everybody should look at it like that. If you love the challenge, challenge it. I can't speak for anybody else in the city, but Tom Moore is a good dude to work with.
Yes.
Call him, ask him questions. He's a straight shooter. He works for the municipality, but he is not a politician.
No.
So, give his office a call, ask as many questions as you have. You have your state legislators, make them work. Your city councilors, make them work. If you have an accountant in the family, as Rob said, if you have an attorney in the family, call them up and ask them a million questions. That's the difference between folks from the neighborhood and folks from these suburban areas.
Yep.
Social capital is unmatched. They'll get on the phone and it's like, Dave, I'm going to need your help. All right, can you help with these forms? They'll get those forms filled out and they'll get them in. I've seen some folks do that. They're not bright. They just have access to resources within their social circles. Mm-hmm. So don't start questioning your intellectual capacity and trying to match with anybody else. No, look in your circles, do some capacity mapping. Find out where your strengths are in your community and you access them. You have them sit down with them and you have them do what they do. Period. It's not rocket science. I know I'm gonna make some phone calls in the morning. I'm reading this. It's like, I'm like, do I have a shot? New newspaper and everything. This is what I do now. Wait a minute. I have a household.
Yeah.
I have a business.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a property owner.
Mm-hmm.
I was impacted by COVID.
Yo, and that's it.
COVID caused me to lose my job. If you want to get technical, we can go there. So I'm just saying, people, man, whatever you do, man, I see Moni just said what I was about to say. Here it is. Put your pride to the side. Go to www.springfield-ma.gov/finance/ARPA. Write it down. It's been scrolling the whole time.
And please know, even the best of us are researching. I got mad degrees and I'm looking stuff up. I'm researching. I'm verifying information. So it's like, it's not easy for anybody. You have to work on it. Can I just say something super important though? The reason why, one of the biggest reasons why I'm going so hard is because of the precedent that we are going to set if we don't run up on these ARPA funds. Let me explain. Last year, I was at the different protests I was doing and the different programs and events and all that kind of stuff. I kept letting the community know that money was coming, like lots and lots of money was coming to our city. And the reason why I knew that was because I'm really big on the historical perspective. And if we look at what happened after the 1918 Spanish flu or the Great Depression, that's how we got social services, right? That's how we got Social Security and all these different welfare benefits. We know whenever there's a pandemic or some economic disaster, there's going to be services and programs and fundings on scales that we haven't seen in a while that people can access. Regularly, the Black and Brown communities don't access those things because of discrimination and oppression and things of that nature. Now it's gotten to the point where we're participating in our own oppression because we know that the discrimination exists, we just don't apply. But honestly, it's programs that are established like this that can change the trajectory of a community and the trajectory of your life. A fun fact about the previous president that I don't like saying his name, so I won't say his name, but his family, that's where their wealth came from. When it was after issues in New York City, and then the city of New York actually started giving out grants for developers to come in and flip homes. And so that's how that family started its fortune, not on their own money, but literally government money that they were able to invest and flip. And now generations of multi-billionaires have come out of it. So we gotta not shoot our own self in the foot and really take it into perspective how we can utilize these funds. And this is just the first. We have the local funding from ARPA. The state funding from ARPA is coming. The infrastructure bill is being passed now. There's going to be money coming specifically in response to Black Lives Matter as well. So all these funding sources that's coming up, if we let them destroy us in this ARPA section, they're going to continue to try to do it in all these other millions and millions of dollars that's coming. So putting all that into perspective, we don't got an option but to run up and really choose this path for us. Yes, it's going to be difficult. Yes, it's going to take a lot more energy than it should, but if we don't get it, they will literally again and over again. So this is our time. And I think if we were really serious about it last year, if it wasn't just about a Facebook picture and a cute little poster, I'm with them, Black Lives Matter, little performative thing, if we were really about it, this is the time to showcase it. These protests and these solidarity movements are like 2 seconds compared to the work that it takes to really break down systems of oppression. And in moments like this where it's so deep, this like just so in our faces, this is the opportunity. It's not the fun ones, but this is the opportunities that's going to make a difference in our community when we talk about sustainable and systemic change.
Right. Good point. Symbolic contributions to struggle mean absolutely nothing. It's like a flash of lightning, hit or miss.
That was cute.
Huh?
I was saying I was cute. Like,
yeah, you can tell your grandkids, I was there. So and then what? Granddaddy? And then what?
Cause good trouble.
So it's like, if you wanna, people. I guess the new cute term is equity. If you want equity in this process, then you have to go through the process. The only way we can challenge it, the only way we can find out where all the flaws are, where the inconsistencies are, you have to go through the process. And that's everybody, grandma, auntie, uncle, little J Rock, the whole nine. She mentioned 45's, parents and how they became rich. They also took those prohibition dollars because they were running alcohol. They took those dollars and flipped them as well. So they made walk the funds off the prohibition. So the thing is, do what you got to do. Challenge the process. Your background, I don't care what you did yesterday. For all my brothers and sisters who are, walking out of, detention facilities, doesn't matter, man. You were impacted. Utilize these dollars. This is for you to turn your life around and get that step up that you've been looking for a long time. Go process. Go.
There's something that I need to say since you brought that up. And that's why we have to change this application, y'all. There's a section in there that talks about criminal activity. And I want to be clear. There is no reason to report anything about yourself individually. The way that it's worded in there, it's as if it's asking about your criminal activity. But what it's asking is about the business entity itself. So if the business idea that you have or the business you've created had any issues with like fraud or funding or any criminal liens against itself or tax.
White collar crime, people. White collar crime.
White collar crime.
That's what I'm
talking about it. Don't be volunteering no information about yourself because one, it doesn't disqualify you. There's nothing about criminal activity, felonies, anything in that federal law at all. But the way they planted that question in there, it's information that they can use against you in terms of, if he's experienced this or she's experienced this, he might not be able to manage that grant. If they never had that information, they couldn't have used it against you though. So we got to be very careful. But yes, anyone can access it. It doesn't matter if you just came back on the block yesterday. You are a Springfield resident. You were impacted by COVID. That's a very excellent point, Daryl.
All right. Daryl said something right. But in all seriousness, www.springfield-ma.gov/finance/ARPA. Please write this down. Text it to everybody on your IG. Just flash the cards, man. Just throw it up in your stories. Let people know that everybody in this freaking city has an opportunity to apply for these funds because everybody was impacted.
Yep.
Indian Orchard, South End, it doesn't matter what your zip code is, as Dom says. I don't care about zip codes. Everybody in these zip codes need to be out there filling out this application. And I'm telling you, by the end of the week, I'm gonna have my application in. I'm gonna encourage everybody that I'm around, just fill it out. Fill it out. Head of household, fill it out. Let them tell you no, because then we could take all that data, and then that's where somebody like Tiffany or Allecia really goes to work, because for some reason this sister loves data.
Yeah.
Everybody talks about the DOJ report. It wasn't until this sister read it from beginning to end. Let me say again, she read the whole damn thing and started pointing out things, and that's when everybody else started jumping on it and really talking about that DOJ report. You broke it down. So with this ARPA, I thank God for you because we need people like you who are actually going to, because me, I'm a guy, ain't gonna lie. I'll get you 2-3 pages and I'm like, I need the cliff notes. You give me the cliff notes, I'll talk about it all day.
Yep.
But you actually read the textbook. So
I do. And edit it and highlight it and reread it.
that was the kid who got teased in school. Now we're like,
it was me.
Took your lunch money too.
Who did the homework? Oh man, Tiffany did it. Break the curve. You're the person who broke the curve. I know.
Tiffany, come over by these steps. Everyone's copying it down before you run into the school.
Right.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Tiffany's like, you all ain't writing fast enough. I'm not gonna be late to class.
Talented and gifted.
That was on the test. It was in chapter 2000, page 549,208.
Listen,
In the third paragraph.
There's got to be one, and it's me. I'll take it.
I'm just glad you're on our side, and I'm glad you're using your powers for good. Because we got to get this information out. People sleep. Yep. I slept on it. Other people are sleeping on it, and there's no excuse. Like you said, fill out this application. There's $127 million sitting in a pot in the Caffers. It's been there
since May.
It's been there since was it May? It's March.
May, yep. Right? May 2021.
It's May. Yep.
May. Okay.
It was signed into law on March 11th. Okay. It was allocated in our bank account May. That's why they were able to buy those properties in June and August, because they've been had the money.
Man, I think the Metro Record should do a story on why they purchased those 3 buildings.
I think you should. And you need to juxtapose it against the requirements that they put on our city, right? So for us, our applications, there has to be community benefits. There has to be all these different aspects to it. But they didn't define that for those commercial properties. They didn't define how it was going to benefit our community economically, culturally, any of those things that they're now requiring the individual citizens to do. Where's their ARPA proposal for this $5 million that they spent?
Yeah, and the municipality is owned and operated by the public, and the public would like to know, why do we have these 3 buildings?
Yep. Yeah.
How does that benefit? We suffered from the pandemic.
Where's their COVID? Yeah.
Everything. People stressed out and they're buying buildings.
Mm-hmm.
But telling me I need 25 pages worth of documents to get $10,000.
Yep.
Help me to understand. I mean, I know I'm simplifying.
Aren't required by federal law.
Right. So people, I'm gonna say this, and hopefully at some point, Tiffany can come back as she gets updates and apprise people and what's going on. But you gotta go to the website, go to the city, SpringfieldCityHall.com, and type in ARPA. I'm gonna simplify it for you. SpringfieldCityHall.com, type in ARPA, and it'll come right up. Contact Attorney Tom Moore, good dude. Contact Chase Swan. The bottom line is whether we love these people or not, we gotta make everybody work. Gotta make them work.
Yes.
Gotta make them work. Everybody needs to work. If you're curious about those 3 buildings, tell everybody in your circle, call 787-6100 and ask Dominic Sarno why we buy these 3 buildings. It ain't personal. It's why do we have these 3 buildings, and why aren't there like neighborhood meetings happening all over? And we have 17 neighborhoods. There should have been at least 17 meetings in all, at least one meeting in each of the 17 neighborhoods addressing these issues. We should be able to ask a million questions. That's another thing. Call down to City Hall, talk with folks from these departments and see if you can have somebody come to meet with your group. If you're a member of, say, the Latino Chamber of Commerce, have them come and talk to your group. If you're with the Association of Black Business and Professionals, have them come talk to your group. If you're Black and Brown Wall Street, have them talk to your group. If you're Black Wall Street Springfield, have them talk to your group. If you're working with any small business clusters, if you're a community organizer, if you're neighbor to neighbor, if you're more, any of these groups, MOCA, whatever the case may be, you have them come in and have them come and talk to your groups.
Yeah.
Invite families, neighborhood families in. Invite whoever, man. Talk to the dude at the bodega and say, bruh,
literally, I was going from business to business to say, have you heard about ARPA? Have you heard about ARPA? And we can actually use our neighbors as a warning for us. So Holyoke received, I think it was like $38 million, the same time we received that $127 million. And they have already paid out their funding, all of it. And if you go where they funded use the ARPA funds, majority of it went to themselves because they can use it on city things. So you would see the fire department, the police department, the Department of Public Works, all these people got these massive amounts of money. And then the nonprofits like the Holyoke Boys and Girls Club, which isn't bad, but when you already have hundreds of thousands of dollars from all these other places and these individuals and households and small businesses who's never had a fighting chance can now access something and you still didn't get it, the community of Holyoke didn't see that money at all. They didn't touch that money. The individuals that are in poverty every single day didn't even touch that money. And that's going to be the same story for Springfield if we allow it to happen.
Well, it was going to be the same story for Springfield, but Tiffany Allecia got hold of that information and it's go to her Facebook page. You'll get all the information you need. So it's kind of like when the right people get a hold of the right information, it's a wrap. Jasmine, my girl Jasmine Sade says, I always say Sade to say, yeah, it's Sade. Jasmine says, what's up, Jazz? Hey, everyone, just tuning in. I live in Mass, but she's in Northampton. Do we know if those funds are available there? What you might want to do, go online to northampton.com.
I'm going to tell you right now, sis, y'all make too much money.
ARPA, or just type in ARPA Northampton and see what comes up. I have a feeling every city across the country has applied for those funds. Everybody, go ahead.
Places with Northampton might not have the funding coming directly to the city. Because the ones that came to the individual municipalities, you had to score high on the community block grant formula. So based off of their economic status and things of that nature, they may not have gotten an individualized portion. However, by being a Massachusetts municipality, the portions that's coming out from Governor Baker, and I keep saying that, but like our senators wants us to say our senators and congressmen, so they're all involved. So basically, the same way we got $127 million here in Springfield, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts got $5.4 billion. Now, he has to disperse that amongst a couple of different categories. So that COVID impact category, that business category, and then that minority category. For the purpose of the federal law, minority are Black, Indigenous people of color, LGBTQ, veterans, and women. And so that's kind of where the funding's going. The Joint Ways and Means Committee, so the Senate, Massachusetts Senate and the Massachusetts State House, they then created this plan that allocated all the different funds. The last time I talked to our senators, well, it wasn't ours, it was the senators from Holyoke. They said that the bill has been completed and it's going to the governor's desk. So before Thanksgiving, we should have some signed document that dictates where this $5.4 billion is going. Now, that isn't going directly to cities. That's going to be spaced out into all these different departments, Mass Inc., Mass Development, this, that, the third, and all these different grants are going to pop up. So the same way how Black and Brown Wall Street did monthly grant calendar events where we kind of just went through, okay, it's January 1st, TDI grant is due, January 6th, this is due. That's kind of what's going to be coming out next year, where there's going to be a lot more random grant programs that you haven't seen before, and because the funding came from ARPA. So that one's not going to be as you're not going to be able to see it as much. You might have to do a little research to figure out where that money actually went, but you should be able to access it on the state level if your individual city or town did not get a portion of money themselves.
Damn. Who messed up and got it right and sent you out to Howard University?
Listen. It was the whole city. I felt like half y'all did my recommendations. Half went on my tours. The other half was my advisors. Y'all, I'm a group effort. That's why I go so hard for our city.
That's what's up.
Yeah, but I'm following that money everywhere, y'all. Don't worry about it. If there's money coming to the city, we gonna know about it.
This is good info, and if you don't live in the city of Springfield, contact your city hall, your town hall. Just contact them anyways. Contact your state reps, your state senators, your congressmen. Just contact everybody. The bottom line is they work for you, man.
Yes.
So pick up the phone and you ask them. Just pick up the phone and call Jazz. This ain't targeted to them. You're saying it in general. Ask them. We have two state senators here. We have Eric and Adam. Get them on the phone and ask them, We have a bunch of state reps. We have Orlando Ramos. We have Bud Williams. We have Angelo
Carlos Gonzalez. Yeah.
Carlos Gonzalez, Brian Ash. There's a bunch of folks representing Springfield. Yo, get them on the phone. The bottom line is everybody gets a pass.
Yeah.
We go after the dude in room 214 and we skip over everybody else that should be working on our behalf. Everybody has to be held accountable. As a matter of fact, if the city doesn't do due diligence, and I know that Congressman Neal and Dom are good friends,
yo,
I call Congressman Neal. You gotta hold his ass accountable too. Nobody gets a pass. The bottom line is, if the majority of the legislators or the elected officials are black, we'd be going in on them. We'd be calling them out. We'd be throwing them on Front Street on Facebook. We'd be trashing them. The way people go after Bud Williams, they be trashing them. We have to go after these same people. The bottom line is they're killing us with the process. They're killing us with verbiage. We gotta what's that thing? You gotta run faster, jump higher,
yeah.
harder. Go through the process. Go through the process. Start that application, and then you call everybody, and you get everybody working for you. Make them earn your vote and your money.
Yeah,
your tax dollars pay their salary. Real talk. So Tiffany, I don't know how to say thank you. I knew you were brilliant, but damn, like damn. You're dropping it. I'm like, we got to have you come on up here. Yo, we're it's time for our monthly update.
Yeah.
What's going on in the streets?
Like, yo,
who's outside? What's happening?
I love the fact that for you, it's like, you know what? I'm not calling racism. I'm not calling discrimination. I'm not throwing none of those cards. I'm calling the process.
Yes.
Let's attack that process. And if we find racism in the meantime, then we're going to cut it up and then we're going to eat it for breakfast. Exactly. But let's focus on the process. And part of our problem as a community, we don't do process. Right. And it's good to see a lot of young cats like yourself, process oriented. I mean, not just talking about process, but actually coaching people through the process. I think that's really dope. So,
thank you so much.
Thank you so much. This is Monday Night Live. D.Moss, Rob Jones, my other homegirl, Malay, is not on with us tonight. But anytime you want to come on and drop some jewels for the community, we're here for it.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. The last thing I would say, not ARPA related, but just to let y'all know, there's $50 million sitting in Mass Mutual. It's called a Catalyst Fund, and that's for Black businesses too. So between Court Street and State Street, we got almost $200 million chilling. That's for us.
Did you say Catalyst Fund?
Catalyst Fund, CATALYS.
We'll be back next week to talk about that Catalyst Fund. Because ladies and gentlemen, we keep saying, "Show me the money." It sounds like she's drafting a map. All jokes aside.
Yeah. Because, okay, for real, Daryl, like how many decades have the issue been said? Whether it's in education, money, health, it's the money. We don't got the money. We don't got the money. So now we're in this sweet spot where we have money. There's no way we can waste this opportunity. If it's really about not having money, well, when there's hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars available to us, what's up, dog? Like, so what's up? We either are going to come out of this more powerful than we've ever been and really become the light that we want to be for Springfield, redefining who we are based off our history. One of the first cities, almost 100 years before the rest of the country, to end slavery. We running up on slave catchers in our community when they come in. We have white and black gangs going out and running them out of the city. Dog, if we want to reclaim that history and we want to go forward and be this shining light of blackness and brownness, because we are 65.6%, then this is the time to figure it out. If we come out of this the same, I don't want to hear nobody complain about nothing. I don't hear no excuses, because now we have the intellect, we have the knowledge, we have the groups. We can say this out loud. We on live talking about this. You know how many people used to whisper people names? We on live talking about this.
Oh man, yeah, you know what? And that's
fried bologna sandwiches.
So it's like, what's up?
Ain't nobody scared. Nobody scared no more. You want to bring it? Bring it.
So what up, dog?
Bring it. We're here for it. And I think that's a beautiful thing. So we're here for it. If there's anybody else out there, if you're listening and you got some information you want to share with the community, come on. We here for it. Monday night, I don't know about everybody else. I can't speak for any other show, but 90.7 has always been a vehicle to get that information out there. So take advantage of it. Use it while we still here. Let me say it again. I told everybody we're the last 2-3 years out of the city hall. Use me while I'm here. We're only here. Use me while we're here. Tiffany Allecia is here. Use her while she's here.
Gang, gang.
Period. So with that, Tiff, I don't know how to thank you enough. I'm gonna owe you a cup of coffee or something. Thank you.
All right, we'll talk soon. I'll keep you updated because if this email and diplomacy don't work, I'm running it up, and you already know what that means. So,
well, listen, man, I got a trumpet. I got a trumpet. We gonna blow them horns.
Yes, dog. We on it. Stay ready, Springfield, so we don't have to get ready.
But everybody needs to help you out. Folks, you just fill out that paperwork. Just download the application, fill it out. Fill it out. And we're going to take it from there because the minute she said blow the horns, let me tell you right now, I'm going to be on live every day telling everybody, listen, folks, we're going to be at such and such a place. Yep. Election is tomorrow, local election. Yes. People don't understand how important it is to get out there and vote. I know a lot of folks say voting is overrated, but all politics is local. We have some city councilors who are willing to fight with us. Yeah, we fight with them sometimes, but they're willing to fight with us, period. And if, I'm shaking the camera, if we lose them on city council, then the process is going to be, what's the word, convoluted? We're going to have, they're trying to go back to the good old boy system. I know Tommy Ash got his people running for city council, school committee, and he's trying to get his people back involved in this process. You don't want his people back in the process.
No, you don't.
He's a bigot. His people are bigots. Ask Chris Poner, card-carrying Klan member. These other dudes are no different. You gotta get out there and vote for people. We need people on the inside, and we need them outside. This thing is a push-pull. So tomorrow is critically important. Make sure everybody you know is up. If they live in the city of Springfield and they can vote in Springfield, no, F that. No matter where you at, get out there and vote for people who are willing to fight for you. If they're not willing to fight for you, then it's whatever. But if you got people who are willing to fight for you, whether they're black, blue, green, white, orange, it doesn't matter. If they're willing to get on your side and load that rifle and fight with you, vote for them, man. Because it makes people like Tiffany and some of the others who are doing this work, makes their job easier. Yep. Because when they're banging on the door and you got a city council or a school committee member on the inside saying, you know what, I'm opening the door. We're going to have this conversation. The conversation has to be had. It cannot be one-sided. We have to be smarter. We have to create our own systems and put them in place. Tiffany has the information. We have at least 2 city councilors that have been, up on it consistently for over a year and a half. We got to support them so that our folks can all work together, man. We can't do it if we're not working together, period. So get out there and vote tomorrow. I can't endorse anybody on this particular show because it's 90.7 WTCC FM. FCC regulations. But if you go to my Facebook page, you'll see everybody I'm supporting, and I hope you go and support them too. There it is. Tiffany, I'm going to say for the 5th time tonight, thank you. I got to play some Cyrock for you right now because I'm like, woo.
Thank you for having me. This was dope. And I'm always down. There's a lot to talk about.
Listen, you are welcome here anytime. And I can look at the sidelines, the text messages coming in. Listen, man, anytime you want, we on.
Yes, dog. We lit, dog. I'm here for it.
All right. This is 90.7 WTCC FM. We're going to pay some bills in about 10 minutes. But right now, I can get down to this 40 Acres and a Mule by Cyrock.
I'm back like I never left. Should have been first of my class, but I second guessed. Third, I got my little dry spell wet to death. And that ain't thirst for this holy drip. Guess I'm blessed. Bang. Imagine being under. The sound man, get the levels up. It's 40 and a mule, time to settle up. I ain't in a mood for the small talk.
Listen, y'all.
Round popped off,
Turn
I
on
ain't
the
letting
radio.
up. District born, two wrists the dawn. With some semi-precious super hit sticks is glowing. I'm in a deep state of mind. And daddy, I'm an incline. Plan to overthrow the oval in the system's dawn. They try to censor me instead. They want 100 name aside to make sense. I'ma be the most wanted. Wanna send for me? Got the century on the hunt. With that hot sounding like a freaking symphony, son. Pen is my weapon of choice. Even that of the sword. Either way, I take my point and leave it mad destroyed. I wage war with every subpar competitor. Better on my bars before battle. Keep my days deployed. Now want me to win it though, what a surprise. And now like me to weigh into the country the size. But push a small axe to a redwood. I'm good on a Grammy, beloved of Morris and Pulitzer Prize. I'm trying to hike the clip so I can put my sisters on. Me and this mic just might be